Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome to season 5 of the Choose UCalgary podcast. For our listeners who are tuning in for the very first time, I just want to welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And for our returning listeners, I want to say welcome back. Thanks for returning. My name is Aidyn, and I am your host for the Choose UCalgary podcast. And on the podcast, we bring on current students, faculty, or staff members of the University of Calgary just to chat about different areas across campus, such as clubs, research opportunities, and today, residents. So I'm really excited today to be joined here with Joey. He is a first-year student currently living in residence, and he's going to be sharing with us his experiences, his advice, what he's learned, what is different about residence versus living at home, and just jump right into everything related to living on campus here at the University of Calgary. So with that being said, welcome, Joey. I'm super excited to have you on today, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. So my name is Joey, and I'm a first year doing business. I come from Strathmore, so it's just a town like half hour east of Calgary. And I chose to live on campus because, I kind of wanted something different from Strathmore, just the same old. I've had the same people around me growing up for the last 12, 13 years. And just being on campus, I thought it would be a good change for me. And just to kind of be immersed in the university culture, and especially being around kids who are studying business with me, I thought that would just be really good for me and help me further my education.
100%. Yeah, I totally can see how that would benefit you. Definitely makes it easier not having to make that long commute. Just roll out of bed and then your class is 10 minutes away.
Yeah, that's the best part. You can just get up and go to class in like 5-10 minutes. You don't have to worry about driving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nice. So when you think back to when you were first applying for residence, when you were still in high school and you were wanting to live on campus, what was the whole application process like?
Well, I was mostly relying on Google and just like searching things up and looking for resources because I'm the first one in my family to come to U of C, and I didn't have any like friends previously who had either. So a lot of that was using the resources that were offered online. And for the most part, it was pretty straightforward. I was really happy with the directories and like the residence portal and stuff like that. And even when I was trying to apply, like back last spring, to try to get a room at the school, I phoned like the wrong number to try to apply for a room, and they still helped me out and like how to do it, and they led me through the steps and the whole process. So it was really helpful. And yeah, I thought that the resources it provided were pretty straightforward.
So when you applied, I don't really know how the whole process works. Do you like select the building you want, or did they automatically place you in one? How does that sort of work?
Yeah, so when room selection opens up, you go through like U of C residence portal and you choose a room as soon as you can. And for first years, I believe rooms are guaranteed or all but guaranteed or something like that. It might be different because of COVID. And for me being somebody who like didn't have anybody to show them how to do the process, and I kind of had to learn for myself and adjust, like if that's something that you're going through, I would just advise you, not to panic because you're going to have a room if you just stay vigilant and just keep refreshing that web page, making sure that you choose whatever rooms become available to you.
Okay, good. That's probably reassuring for people to hear. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Nice. So what building do you live in? And could you describe what it's like?
So I'm in Rundle Hall, and Rundle is like the cheapest option comparatively. So there's Rundle Hall and Kananaskis Hall, which are both very similar in terms of like the room styles, how the buildings are designed, the amenities on each floor, or what the buildings have to offer. And they're also very similar in terms of pricing. Then there's also Yamnaska Hall, which is also for first year students. And those, I believe they have like 3 separate bedrooms and as well as a bathroom. So if you're willing to pay more, or if like a separate bathroom is something that you would prefer, then I'd say Yamanaska Hall is for you. For me, I personally didn't mind having a roommate in the same room, or having communal washrooms, or not having the biggest lounge. And I'm really enjoying my time here. I think the university experience is more the people and not necessarily the things in the residence, if that makes sense. And just my floor in Rundle is so good and the community is so strong. And I've just made so many good friendships. Yeah, I just love it so far.
That's great. Yeah, I've heard so many things about people making lifelong friendships through residence, and it all starts in your first year when you are thrown into this new environment. Everyone's kind of in the same boat, and it's really easy to form a bond and create friendships through that. So,
Mhm.
for your floor, are a lot of other students also in business? Is that kind of how they set it up, or is there like students from every faculty on your floor?
From my floor, it's students from every faculty. And actually, when you're signing up through Residence Portal, you have the chance to choose like whether or not you'd want to be with kids just in your faculty. And with me, I just kind of wanted a mix of everything. So I chose to have like a floor with everyone. So right across from me, there's someone doing business. There's also someone doing French in the room down. And the room after that is education. My roommate is doing engineering. So it's a mix of everything. You kind of get to see, what other kids your age are doing on Rundle, at least. I know other floors in Kananaskis. If you were to choose to be like on an all STEM floor, or all business floor, or all arts floor, that's where you would go, is to Kananaskis on one of those like community floors. But it's personal preference.
That's great that there's the option for students to decide whether they want to stick with people in their faculty or get to know people in other faculties as well. Are you interested in getting a better look at the University of Calgary campus along with a sneak peek at our first year residence buildings? Be sure to register for a UCalgary campus tour. Please use the link in the episode notes to view the upcoming tour schedule and to sign up now. After living in residence for a little bit, you must have kind of learned a lot. So, what's one of the biggest challenges that you would say that you've faced so far, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I think growing up, I was very sheltered in a way in high school, in that the teachers were always on me to submit my work, or my parents were always making sure I was on task. And then suddenly, when you hit university, everything is very self directed and you're very responsible for your own success. And nobody's on you to submit work. That's something that you have to push yourself to do, and you have to guarantee that you're going to get done on time, or that you're going to stay on top of your classwork, or not sleep in and go to class, because that's another thing. If you want to have the best chance of passing and doing well for yourself, you have to make sure that you are staying on top of your things. And for me, that was quite the adjustment, because I'd come from a town where everybody kind of knows what you're doing, and it's not the same sense of self-responsibility as in university. And what I would say for people who have this kind of issue is to make sure you surround yourself with like-minded people who are also going through the same thing and who also need that kind of extra push or motivation to stay on track, because in university it's one step closer to being an adult and taking care of yourself, and it's just a part of the whole maturity process, I would say.
For sure, it's definitely a big switch, but it's all an adjustment, and everyone around you is in the same boat. So I feel like that also helps motivate you to get your stuff in on time, go to class when you see other people around you doing the same. So, to help with that, are there any support services in residence or for resident students that you're aware of? And have you ever used any of them?
Personally, I haven't used many of them, but one of the things I really love about it here is that there's so many support services that they have to offer, whether that be postings you can find in like the dining center or throughout residence about if you need help, whether it be like school wise, mental health wise, social skills wise. They have phone numbers or directories that you can contact, and you can also find additional resources online if need be. Or then even on each floor, we have what are called CAs, or like community ambassadors, and they're just like the floor supervisors. And anytime you need help with anything, you can reach out to them. They're there to help you. They're a resource that you can use free of cost if you ever need. And I've mostly just talked to my CA if I ever need help with anything. But there's so many resources that you have to use outside of just CAs that I would say if you need help, absolutely reach out to them. Like I said, they're there for you to use.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. Speaking of the dining center, I know you briefly mentioned that. What's that like? What's going on with that?
I personally really like the dining center. I know I have friends who are going to other universities, and the whole, oh, freshman 15, you're going to gain so much weight by eating the food. But here it's just, there is a really wide variety of choices. If you're vegan, or if you're gluten sensitive, or any kind of dietary restrictions that you might have, the dining center kind of accommodates you. And also, I like the food choices. I don't know. And you can go anytime. If you're a first year student living on campus, it's mandatory for you to have either a 5-day or 7-day meal plan. And I chose 7-day just so that if I ever am hungry on the weekends, I can just step in. And I like it a lot. Not being hungry at any time. I just enjoy that. Being able to roll out of bed and just get breakfast is nice.
Yeah, fuel for the day.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wanted to ask about that because I heard you bring it up. So thanks. Okay, so kind of bring it back to the support services. I've heard of residents or the university offering events specifically just for resident students. I think they did like a campfire night recently, or like a movie night that was outdoors. Have you ever been to any of those events? If not, that's okay. But have you heard anything about them or anything like that?
Yeah, so I've been to those events more so recently. I just go if my friends go, but especially in that first week of university where you're new to everything and everything is a new experience, I find that that's when the most kids have kind of attended those, even just having like campfire and puppies outside, something as small as that. It's good team building exercises, and you get to meet people and just kind of see what university is about in that first week. That's when they offer a lot of the events. But even throughout the year, it's just a good getaway from school because you'll be studying a lot or you'll have other obligations, and just being able to take that break. Sometimes it's much needed, and it's nice. You just get to hang out with people who you either know, sometimes you don't know, and it's all part of the university experience.
Nice. Yeah, having that mental break is definitely needed. And yeah, if you're comparing living in residence to living at home, what would you say are some of the main differences that you've noticed, other than obviously the environment? But what are some things that you're just like, oh, that's definitely different?
Well, going back to the support services, I would say that's definitely a big part. The university is very much there to support your learning, and not even just in support services necessarily, but like in study areas. We have our library that you can just go to study, where you have floors you can either do group work or floors that are completely silent. We also have other study areas around campus, such as the atrium, where it's just like this little plant area. I think that's neat. I go there to study sometimes. I kind of like the atmosphere. Yeah, there's quiet areas all around campus. There's extra help times that I didn't necessarily get back in high school that here I can take advantage of. And the whole environment of university is so geared towards your learning and your education. And that's something I really appreciate, especially because I'm paying for my education and I'm paying to get like the best bang for my buck. And yeah, I think the university is really, really good in that regard.
For sure. Yeah. Studying at home, sometimes there's distractions and whatnot, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
along with that, what's something that you wish you knew before moving into residence that you kind of weren't prepared for, maybe, or something that you just wish you knew before going into it?
Honestly, I think the university website and the different portals it has online, they do a pretty good job of like preparing you for most of the things you're going to encounter. So nothing major for me really, but the one thing that I kind of wish I knew coming in was that the walls in like each separate dorm room are so thin, and it's like it's not bad. If I'd known that coming in, it wouldn't have made any changes to my final decision about whether to move to campus or not. But it's definitely something to keep in mind, because like at home, my bedroom is in the basement. So if I wanted to listen to music going to bed on my speaker, I could. But like here, you kind of have to be mindful of like who has a test the next day or who might be studying. Quiet hours, I believe, start at 11 p.m. on weekdays. So that's definitely something I would say just keep that in mind.
Great piece of advice. Thank you. And on that note, some other advice, maybe if you wanted to just add any final tips or advice to anyone who's considering applying to the University of Calgary or maybe living on campus, to end off, what would you want to tell them?
Well, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't do anything different. I think campus is an excellent experience. I think it's definitely a choice that all first years should make if they have the opportunity to do so. I would definitely say that the first week or student orientation week, I would say make the most of that because that's when everybody is going to be brand new. You have a clean slate. You make the most of it. And you have to remember that everybody is in the same boat as you. And even if you're not the most extroverted person naturally, I would encourage yourself to just kind of go out of your way, like step out of your comfort zone to make new friends and have those new experiences because there at the end of the day, there really is no judgment. And these are going to be the prime years of your life. So just go out and enjoy it. And I would also say that as the school year goes on, if you ever need help with anything, the support services are there for you. And I think there's often a stigma against reaching out for help because a lot of people are scared to get the help they need, whether it be like mental health or study wise. If you need the help, it's definitely there for you. And I would encourage you to get it. And the university has so many resources to use that you should just make the most of them.
100% agree. Thank you so much for sharing that advice. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today and talking about residence. Yeah, so I just want to give another thank you to Joey for sharing all of the super helpful information, not only just about the residence buildings, but his personal experience and advice to future students or incoming students who are interested in applying to the University of Calgary and housing here. I think that this episode will be super helpful for all of them. So thank you again. And I just also wanted to say that if anyone has any questions regarding residence or the University of Calgary, please reach out to me. You can DM the Choose UCalgary Instagram or the University of Calgary Future Students Facebook page, and I will be happy to answer any messages on there. Thank you again, Joey.
Thank you very much for having me.